Kempire is brought to you by. Do you know how important it is to rate and review a podcast? Rate and review the Kempire podcast today. 5 stars. Let us know what you love about the podcast. Rate and review the Kempire podcast on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. Did you know that you can watch the Kempire Channel on YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitter? Follow us on all of our platforms. More information on our YouTube, our Blue Sky, our Twitter, aka X, and more socials, and every way that you can support us will be available in the episode notes. You're listening to Kempire here on the Kempire Radio Network. Welcome back, guys, to the Kempire Channel, your number one source for pop culture news and music, entertainment, reality TV, and so much more. We are live on multiple platforms: Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Twitch. We're trying to get live on Twitter, but there might be an issue. I don't know what it is. It is what it is. This is why it's important to follow us everywhere, okay? But this is our weekly recap of Married to Medicine. Guys, as always, be sure to let me know, where are you guys watching from? That's always interesting to know. I love it when people call in and we see people are watching from South Africa. We got people watching in Australia. We got people watching in Pakistan. We've got people watching in Dubai. We've got people watching in all parts of Europe. We've got people watching in all parts of the United States. Shout out to those of you that are in North Carolina and South Carolina. I see that the wildfires overnight were spreading crazy. So hope everyone is staying safe out there. Happy Ramadan. Ramadan Kareem, Ramadan Mubarak, all the things to those that celebrate. Anyway, so I wanted to talk about Married to Medicine. How would you guys rate this week's episode from 1 to 10? I didn't even ask that for myself. I don't know how I would rate this week's episode. It was good, like interesting to watch, but I will be twerking on a fence. Let me just put out this disclaimer first. We here at the Kempire Channel, myself, do not condone any form of abuse, mental, physical, or whatever it may be, okay? I find Dr. Gregory to be cringy. I did not like the way that he has spoken to Sweet Tea last week, this season. I don't like what we've heard about his relationship with Quad. So I just want to put that disclaimer out there because I will be, in this particular instance, I see this particular person's point. So just keep that in mind. And for the Johnny come latelys, meaning that you're late, please understand we've posted this disclaimer. Okay? I say, and Qatar or Qatar. All right, Doha. Mohima is watching from Doha. I want to go to Qatar or Qatar. Qatar is the correct pronunciation, right? I want to go there just to kind of check it out. You know what I mean? I want to go everywhere. Name a place I want to go there. Except Potomac. I was just there. Come on. Anyway. All right. Moving on. Let's talk about this episode. So at the top of this episode, we have Dr. Eugene and Toya at home. Okay. Excuse me. I shouldn't be laughing. Toya and Dr. Eugene at home. So they're talking about what went down between Dr. Gregory and Quad. And I have to say, they have really been the voices of reason this season, both Toya and Dr. Eugene. Dr. Eugene says Quad and Dr. Gregory still know, even though they're no longer together, they still know how to push each other's buttons. And I was like, I never thought about that until he said it. And I was like, yeah, they really do. They still can push each other's buttons. Okay. So before that, can we talk about Toya and that body yaddy yaddy yaddy? Body yaddy yaddy. I was like, okay, Toya. She looks fantastic. Okay. So she's making some bacon. They're having a chit chat. She asks, have you reached out to Dr. Gregory? And he says, I'm the type of person, I want to give him a moment to breathe. Are you guys those type of people? Or you feel like you should reach out to someone immediately? I didn't think about it until you said it. I'm like, well, I'd probably give some people a moment. Some people need a moment. I wonder how long it really had been in between. Was it just a day or two? Was it a week? Was it 2 weeks? How long do you give someone before you reach out and just check? I would at least send a text, maybe not immediately after, or maybe immediate after. Like, I'm here if you want to talk. I just want to give you time to breathe if you need the time. If you don't need the time, let me know. So that's what Dr. Eugene. But Toya she was like, I think we should reach out to them because no one has reached out to them. She really has been the voice of reason this season. But wait, because she loses me by the end of the episode. Not really. She doesn't lose me, but I don't see 100% the same as Toya. So she says that people should reach out to them and check on them. Okay, in regards to Dr. Gregory and Sweet Tea. She also talks about she's planning this anniversary party. She's been married to Dr. Eugene for 16 years. So she's planning this sort of Bridgerton-style birthday party. You saw the mid-season trailer. Honestly, she does do over-the-top parties. I can appreciate that. So many of you say that you watch these shows for these types of parties. At least she's going to give it to you. Okay? So she says, she wants to invite all the couples to that dance class in order to invite them to her anniversary party. Okay. Eugene says, as I mentioned to you before, that somehow Quad and Dr. Gregory still have the power to push each other's buttons. We saw that in Key West. Fine. In another sweet scene, Quad goes over to Dr. Heavenly's house and she walks right on in. And Heavenly's like, you don't know, I'm an empty nester now. We could have been having, sex in the living room. And Quad's like, y'all not having sex in the living room, or neither on the piano. If you were an empty nester, I would be having whoopee everywhere. It's your house. Who cares? But I get it. They're also filming a reality show. There are cameras there. She knows cameras are there. Whatever. So Heavenly says that maybe Sweet Tea and Dr. Gregory need some time away from the group. It feels like these group of women have a pattern of behavior. I don't know if you guys noticed it in this episode, but I already told you it feels like they were already alienating Sweet Tea from the group. So I'm noticing the language that's being used already. So Dr. Heavenly says that maybe Sweet Tea and Dr. Gregory need some time away from the group to Quad. Quad is planning her own party where she's going to invite the women over to her house. Have they gone to her house before? I know Dr. Heavenly has, but has she hosted anything there before? I don't recall. She's been there for a couple of years now. I don't recall if she's hosted them there before. But didn't she have a birthday party? But was it there? I can't remember. I can't keep up. Okay. Oh, exactly. Regina on TikTok says, and now that Quad has a man, she's back in the fold. Now that Quad is willing to do everything that she needs to do in order to be with these people, she's doing. You notice it this season. She's got a man. She's being friendly. She's hanging out with them. She's reaching out to them when they're not filming because they've been telling her that for years and she refused to do it. Stubborn Taurus. Okay. Jay says, once I think. Yeah, I can't remember. I couldn't remember if they've any. I only remember the housewarming. Is that the Christmas party? Okay, wait. So they've been over there a couple of times because no one said during that. No one said that this was their first time there because they would have said it. K Shav says her Christmas party season 9. Okay, the Christmas party. Okay, I was sort of like, is this their first time there? Because we don't go there a lot. If we're being honest, we don't go there a lot. She doesn't host the group there a lot. Okay. So Quad says she wants to do a girlfriend's check-in with the group. She wants to do a girlfriend's check-in, but she's not planning to invite Phaedra or Sweet Tea. I understand not inviting Sweet Tea. I can also even understand not inviting Phaedra because, as you know, Phaedra sort of up and left the group and the group trip, and she basically said she was done with the group. We know the perfect segue, Phaedra getting on this private jet, Phaedra announcing that she's returning to Real Housewives of Atlanta, coming off of a private jet with her peach. This is why Phaedra at the end of this episode is so willing. She's like, I'm done with the group. Her paperwork has been done with Real Housewives of Atlanta. I hate the fact that Phaedra and some of the fans that are falling for these mean girls pushed Phaedra out. They shouldn't have. Look, I agree. Inviting Apollo, even though Phaedra knew Apollo was coming, but why are we inviting Apollo? Why are we inviting Apollo? In Heavenly's mind, they could teach Quad and Dr. Gregory on how to co-parent Sweet Tea. I don't understand the whole point in inviting Apollo besides trying to be messy and trying to create reality television. However, Phaedra knew that he was coming. She did know that he was coming. But her using that as her excuse as to she's done with this group. Girl, we know why you're done with this group, because please trust and believe, if a door was not open to Real Housewives of Atlanta, Phaedra's butt would still be kissing their butts over at Married to Medicine. Point blank, period. Black Celine says, I'm with Phaedra. Kiss my ass. Well, here's the thing. She's got a new job. She doesn't care about these women. Or as she would say, these B words. She's done with them. But again, if she didn't have that door open because of Kenya leaving, she would not be leaving. She'd be like, all right, I'll go. Ooh, yes. Can I get a boiled egg? she would definitely be staying because this is her opportunity to stay on Bravo. I don't understand why such an accomplished woman with multiple businesses, okay, with jobs, is so desperate to be on reality television.
It's this, honey.
I told you, this is why I'm concerned for some of these people that come on here thinking that they're going to launch a major career and become the next Bethany Frankel. Y'all are moving wrong because you keep getting into this cycle of being in reality television. If you got all the jobs, why are you still slumming it on reality television? And look, we love reality television, but for someone that has all these jobs, I'm trying to understand why you're so desperate to be on Bravo's payroll. And some people are like, well, it's a check, Kempire. Okay, I understand it's a check, but why are you so desperate for that check if you have jobs? Just asking. And here's the thing. You're on reality television not willing to give your life. And I'm overwatching it. This is why I'm not excited about Real Housewives of Atlanta or Phaedra being on there. Because we know she's going to give us a bunch of nothing. The same nothing that she gave us on Married to Medicine. And now she came and stank up the place on Married to Medicine. She's caused destruction and left. Asawi, I love you. No, I don't. I pressed the wrong button. Okay. All right. Moving on. So we had those scenes with Eugene and Toya and Quad and Dr. Heavenly. Speaking of Toya, she hosts the couples to announce her Bridgerton party. Okay. Quad doesn't come because she couldn't come without King. And as you know, this is where Dr. Gregory made some accusations. He probably made a complaint with Bravo. He also allegedly tried to file some charges, a restraining order, whatever it may be. So King could not be around Dr. Gregory and Sweet Tea if they were there. But they weren't there. But that was the reason why Quad decided not to come, because King wouldn't be able to come. I'm surprised because Quad usually doesn't miss an opportunity to film. But maybe this was Quad's way of trying to put her foot down, me or them. Maybe. So Toya, mind you, did you guys see Anila? Anila was at the situation. It's time to bring Anila back. Hear me out. Calm down. Calm down. Let me give you the blue ivy. Calm down, everyone. Calm down. Damn, I got a dislike for saying bring Anila back. Calm down. Calm down. First of all, I always like Dr. Kieran. I've always said that. I think he fit in perfect with the husband. He was messy. If Toya can forgive, and I haven't forgotten the accusations that she had against Toya. Toya is still her friend. If Toya can forgive her, bring Anila back.
So nasty.
And that's what happened.
So rude.
What? Bring her back. She's really a part of this group. She's really Married to Medicine. If anything, that would actually bring a little bit more real friendship with Toya and another woman that's actually Married to Medicine. It's time to bring her back. And it's also a different culture. We're going to get the Indian culture. Bring her back. And bring Audra too. Come on. I never miss a week. Bring Audra back too. She's also Married to Medicine. She's also an attorney. Probably more legitimate than the other one y'all brought on. What? Who said that? Who said that? Bring her back. Bring in, because again, if Toya can move on, the audience can move on. She's actually Married to Medicine. She actually lives that life that you guys love to see. Exactly, Black Citizen, and bring Mrs. Gomez back. But didn't Mrs. Gomez retire? Oh, was that? No, she came back. She did come back. Remember, we all said that was all a storyline. And bring her back. And we get Mrs. Gomez. I'm ready. Come on. And maybe they were considering it. She filmed. She had to sign a release to be on camera. She was at this event. So here's the thing. Heavenly and Simone, they received the Georgian newsletter that is the invitation for Toya's anniversary party. Heavenly, of all people, you can't talk about anyone's language or grammar. The way it's spoken, even your apology to the gay community had grammatical errors everywhere in it. So you of all people to talk about Toya and her using AI or someone else writing her newsletter, you can't talk. I think y'all swear because y'all have a DR period before your name that makes you better than everyone or smarter than everyone. You of all people, when it comes to the English language, cannot talk. But they always come for Toya and her intelligence. Okay, Dr. Simone did the same thing. She believed AI wrote that for her. A lot of people have AI writing AI for them right now. Let's be honest. If anything, she was smart to do that. So they make that comment. Am I surprised? No. But when I read Heavenly's apology, I said, "Come on now, Heavenly. You of all people can't talk about someone's written language or anything. Of all people." Okay. Contessa. Oh, sidebar. I did see that Dr. Contessa and Sweet Tea did an interview on her YouTube channel. I just started watching it. I saw maybe like the first 10 minutes. I will say this. Married to Medicine, I know y'all watch. This is the direction we need to go in. We need to talk more about the conversations that I saw them talking about. They were talking about being in the military, about her becoming a doctor, how she became a doctor. This is what people loved about Married to Medicine. I get it. You have to find a balance between the drama, the fun, and them being doctors. It feels like them being doctors is just for namesake. And we get a little sprinkle of it. We got a little sprinkle of it at the beginning of the episodes, of this particular episode, when they were flashing back to when Dr. Scott had his first patient, delivered his first baby, and then we saw Dr. Jackie meeting with DeBrat and their baby that she delivered. So we get sprinkles of medicine now in Married to Medicine. What I loved about the first 10 minutes of that interview was them talking about their military career. And that's the thing about Dr. Contessa. I, like a lot of people, have said, I didn't like how Dr. Contessa tried to gaslight us to not remember what happened with Dr. Scott. But I like to see these moments when she's talking her stuff, when she's talking military, when she's talking medicine, because I do think that she's really, really smart. And I liked seeing that in the first 10 minutes. I'm going to continue to watch it. I'll get back to you. I have no promises. I'll talk about it. Sidebar, for those that want to hear me talk about The White Lotus and some other things that I won't be talking about anywhere else, subscribe today. Today it launched our new exclusive bonus episodes on the Kempire Podcast. Head on over to the Apple Podcast app and subscribe today. That already released the first episode recap of The White Lotus. Let me know in the live chat or replay crew if you've already subscribed and you listened to my very first recap of The White Lotus. I'm going to use this area for me to talk about some of the shows that I don't get to talk about here on YouTube or in the podcast. There, I might do Paradise. You guys will let me know those shows you want me to talk about there. That is going to be exclusively there. So I talked about the first episode of The White Lotus. I'm going to be releasing another episode this week, talking about episode 2. Then, of course, also episode 3 that came out last night. No spoilers. I haven't watched it yet. Back to Married to Medicine. Guys, if you haven't already, be sure to like the video. It's easy, it's free, and it supports me and the channel. Speaking of support, thank you so much, Dr. Red, for the super chat and for being a member. Dr. Red says, Quad is doing the same thing she did in the early seasons, rallying the girls to push out who she doesn't like, a.k.a. Mariah Huck of it all. Yuck. I'm so glad that Dr. Red can see through the BS. Because, the Quad Squad. And I feel like the cast is falling for it too because they are so scared of the backlash that they received after they pushed out Quad. They're so scared of the backlash. So you see them doing like an overcorrection of what happened. A.R. Murray, thank you so much for the super chat. A.R. Murray says, Phaedra and Apollo's family business is reality TV. That's why he was on the couples trip. Dr. Heavenly is just the catalyst they used to get him on. Okay. Tish, thank you so much for the super chat. Tish says, AI helps me at work every day. It helps me with a lot of different projects that I work on. I don't have it write dialogue or anything like that for me, but it's there for a reason. Tish says, it's about working smarter, not harder. There are a lot of benefits to AI. There are some benefits to it. I try not to overuse it because I also think it's important, first of all, the environment. Second of all, I think it's also important for us to be challenging our brains, especially as we get older. So then there's that. I also don't want us to get too complacent relying on AI too much. And also, we also don't want to lose people in the workforce because of AI. Pamela, thank you so much for the super chat. Ooh. Pamela says, they were discussed on Married to Medicine LA and Houston canceled. Oh, in regards to Dr. Contessa's military background. I mean, it's been discussed. What I'm saying is that there's so much more. There's so much more that we could learn from the conversation that we just saw, or at least the first few minutes that I saw that Sweet Tea and Dr. Contessa were having. Thank you, Pamela, for the super chat. We appreciate the support. Again, guys, you can support just by liking the video. We're talking about the latest episode of Married to Medicine. Look at what I just did. I hate when I do that. Okay. Okay, let me do that. And let me just do this. Boom. All right, let me take a sip from my water. What did Miss Esquire says, listen, AI helps me plan my meals. Yeah, I remember my doctor telling me that too. You can use ChatGPT to set up like your meal plan and stuff like that. Set up a cleaning schedule for my home, plan trips, etc. So many home management functions are helped by AI. And I don't know if you guys noticed that AI has been implemented in a lot of things right now. Your social media apps, like everything is using AI right now. But again, I think balance with everything. Balance with everything. Okay. So back to this. What was I talking about? No, Married to Medicine. Okay. So Toya hosts the group in regards to the invitation. Contessa reveals that Dr. G may have filed a restraining order. Okay. And everyone is confused. They're like, he did what? He filed a restraining order? But he didn't, but King never touched him. Okay. And she says, well, Dr. G believes that it was attempted assault. Dr. Simone is like, oh, that's a bitch move. I'm actually surprised. Is anyone else surprised that these doctors, these accomplished people, are defending someone attacking someone else, like physically? I get it. King never made contact. I will always say King chose the wrong time to have that conversation. Dr. G was discussing. He told on himself in regards to what he said about Quad. He's a weirdo. Again. But I feel like King chose the wrong time to even bring that up. Literally, we're dealing with another situation, and now you're like, let's have a conversation. They both were aggressive. However, we do see King taking off his shirt and running toward, mind you, they've been separated. Keep that in mind. They've been separated. Now, all of a sudden, they're still, yelling and whatnot. King takes off his shirt and runs towards him. I'm not saying that I would file charges, but at the same time, when I see Toya later say, oh, people, you're saying to me you can't be in the same room as these people, that says to me that you can't control yourself. No. Would you want to be in the room with someone that potentially could attack you? There is a difference. Like, you can feel the way that you feel about Sweet Tea and how you feel about Dr. Gregory. However, we saw this man take off his shirt and run towards him like he wanted to physically fight. So I'm actually surprised that these medical professionals that have licenses to lose that would say that was a B move, Dr. Simone saying that. I'm like, I don't know if I necessarily would file charges. However, I'm also not going to be in an environment where I feel like someone's going to physically attack me. You all have asked, Kempire, drop the skincare routine. Well, now I am. I am so excited about our new partnership with Buttah. I've been following the company for many, many years, and I know a lot of you are probably already familiar with their products. So I've been able to try their products for the last few weeks, and I have to say, I am utterly impressed. I'm not going to go through my nightly routine or my other routines because I have a morning routine, a nightly routine, I have a weekly routine, I have a monthly routine in regards to my skincare. So there is a whole system, but you have to start somewhere. So why not start now? First of all, let me talk about my morning routine. So I gotta wash my face. You have to find the right cleanser, all right? And not all cleansers are made the same. Start with a cleanser, gives me a good lather. Once I'm doing that, another key component to your skincare, don't use the towel that you use to dry your hands or to dry your body on your face. They have these high quality, silky soft towels. You use it once and you throw it out. I love that. It's going to change your skincare routine. Once you're done with that, put on vitamin C. This is a game changer. For those that say, Kempire, your skin is glowing. Game changer. Vitamin C. I will also say this. Because I've tried so many different skincare products, I can tell quality versus not so quality. Quality so far from everything I've tried. There's also a very key component. And then after you've done your vitamin C, it's time to put on your moisturizer. Cocoa Shea Revitalizing Cream. I love this because I've tried some other companies and I'm not going to name them. Some are too thin or too thick or too scenty. This is perfect. And I do not say that lightly, and I'm not saying that because it's a partnership. I would tell you the truth. If you know me, you know that. Perfect consistency. When I've used this literally today, this woman that I met, she's like, oh my God, you have perfect skin. I can't tell you the amount of times that people tell me that, but here's the final and key component, sunscreen. Very important. And I love the fact that they sent me the perfect system. Sunscreen, tinted mineral sunscreen, SPF 30. SPF 90 you don't need. I don't know why they sell it, but it is what it is. So we've partnered with Buttah, and I hope that you will get you a little something. For those that have been asking, what is your skincare routine? I just gave you my morning routine. Stay tuned for the nightly routine and other things. More information on our partnership is available at buttahskin.com/Kempire. All that information will be available in the description. Thanks, Buttah. But here I go twerking on the fence. Did Dr. Gregory do this because he knew if he did this, Bravo would have to make sure that King is never around for filming, would also hinder Quad's opportunity on the show? That's why I said I'm going to twerk on the fence, because I do believe that was Dr. Gregory trying to be vindictive. Not that he really felt threatened. I don't know. I don't know if I believe that he really felt threatened, but I do think that he was trying to be vindictive and he wanted to interfere with Quad being on the show. And he knew, well, if I file charges and I file a restraining order, then he can't film, he can't be in the group, but I can. Possible. That's possible. I still just found it interesting. Dr. Damon saying, I'm on King's side. I was like, that's interesting. Again, we have to remember the timeline of events. What Dr. Gregory said to Quad in that moment was wrong. But in the moment where we're arguing about something completely else on the beach, King decides to have that conversation gets heated, and then all of a sudden we're separated, and then King is running towards me? That's weird. That's weird that anyone would be like, oh, I could see. You got to defend your wife. So, Dr. Damon, you're going to risk your medical license to physically harm someone on the show. I don't think they realize how inconsistent their conversations are, because they're always talking about the medical license and how they're professional and things like that. So you're telling me you're going to risk your medical license and reputation just to protect the honor of your wife. There's one way of protecting the honor of your wife without getting physical. So I found it to be interesting to see the turn of events and how people were handling this. Because we also have to remember Dr. Damon and Dr. Gregory are not in a good place. They're not in a good place. So, and also a loss of business. There was that conversation that Dr. Gregory wasn't recommending or he wasn't taking any of the referrals from Dr. Damon. I just think Dr. Damon doesn't like Dr. Gregory. So, anyway, Tish says, and I also have to say this too. Thank you, Tish. Tish says, I think editing may be the reason why we are confused, Kempire. Here's the thing. I see so many people on social media so strongly defending either side. We have to remember we are watching an edited show. And what we found from some of the recaps that Heavenly and Sweet Tea are doing, there's so much context that's left out. Neither you, me, or anyone else that wasn't there can never really be 100% on anyone's side because we don't know what we're watching. I keep reminding you, context is so important. I know there were years ago people would say, oh, you can't blame editing. We have seen how editing will change your viewpoint on a situation. So I choose for myself. You could choose whatever you want for yourself. But I choose for myself. I'm not going to be team anyone because I wasn't there. I wasn't there for whatever went down. For all we know, the fight between Dr. Gregory and King happened right after Dr. Gregory said what he said. Hard to see that in editing, but we don't know. This is why I'm twerking on the fence religiously. Okay. The Jillian says that Dr. Damon is still upset about the cheating comment and about Dr. Gregory not defending him. Probably. Dina says, I'm 100% on the side that Dr. G is a fool. Wait till we get to the song. I really wish I could have skipped this week's episode. That damn song. Pamela, thank you so much for the super chat. Pamela says, Mariah Toya had an entire fist fight, no charges. That was the first season. And here's the thing. Again, we're talking about Mariah and Toya, not doctors. No doctor's license being involved here. I'm just saying, I'm not defending Dr. G. Take the people out of the situation and put yourself in that situation. Some of y'all would have been filing charges, no matter if it was a reality show or not. Scar, I don't know what I would do in that situation. I don't know if I would file, if I was in this reality TV space, I don't know if I would file charges, but I also don't know if I would want to be around that person. They do show later on that the next day that King did apologize to the group. He didn't apologize to Dr. Gregory and Sweet Tea, but he did come from a place of understanding. They showed later on. Scarlett, thank you so much for the super chat. Scarlett says, Sweet Tea and Contessa's live was amazing. Learned more about health, infertility, and politics in one sitting than the last two Married to Medicine seasons. Yeah, I mean, even just from the first few minutes of me watching it, I was like, oh, this is interesting. Pamela, thank you so much for the super chat. Pamela says, Dr. G was definitely being vindictive and trying to interfere. Look, again, we are saying something out of speculation. We cannot get into the mind of Dr. Gregory, neither do we want to. But this is why I offer you both perspectives. Miss Esquire says, Kempire, you're giving Dr. G a lot of credit. You think he's playing chess. He's barely able to play Go Fish. No, I'm telling you, we're watching an edited show. And it's very easy to be on one side of whoever. I'm not going to do that because, again, if I'm not there, it's the same way he was saying to Dr. Damon, I don't know what you do, because he's probably not around Dr. Damon like that. He's like, I don't know what you do. Next minute I defend you, and then all of a sudden the receipts come out that you've been cheating, and now I look like a fool for defending you. Okay. Someone says that Dr. G, hold on. Alicia says that Sweet Tea ran up on King. No charges. Again, it depends on not everyone's going to file charges on a situation like that. Again, I think that could be twofold. I think that Dr. Gregory could be doing that partially so that he could prevent Quad and King from filming, so that he would continue to film. But he didn't expect that the group would be taking the side of Quad and King. They're basically alienating Sweet Tea and Dr. Gregory out of the group. Angela says that Dr. G felt attacked. He was still angry, so he acted out of emotions. Once he came to his senses, he decided not to press charges. Did he? Or did they? Again, we don't know. I don't know if he has said that, but when he tried to press charges, did they say that there wasn't enough evidence? I don't know. Okay. Well, okay, come on. Miss Brooklyn Diamond brings up a valid good point. We're not condoning violence, but she's saying, so by Dr. Damon Daddy's position, hellishly, Dr. Heavenly, should have been slapped several times for her attacks on husbands. Literally what Dr. Contessa says in her confessionals. She's like, hearing Heavenly defend King's behavior, she was like, well, and then they replay when she talked about Dr. Scott. Yeah. Then there's that. All right. Okay. Let me move on. So what else happened during this situation? So she invites all the folks to then they do the whole dancing. Who cares? I really didn't care about that. I was like, okay, let's get to the party. Was there anything else that I wanted? Oh, good. Dr. Damon says that. And okay, we talked about Contessa. All right. So Toya, Mimi, and Sweet Tea meet up. Okay. And Toya invites Sweet Tea to her anniversary party because she didn't make it to the gathering with the group. Sweet Tea, because Toya starts asking her about Dr. Gregory pressing charges, and Sweet Tea refuses to give any information. She's like, that's his business. Sweet Tea says that King charged at Gregory. We saw that. Okay. But like someone just said, Sweet Tea, you charged at King. Toya brings up that Sweet Tea. I think Toya, the way that they edited this, because remember, Heavenly has said on her recaps that they're not showing that Sweet Tea can be physical with a lot of people, including Toya. So I feel like in this conversation, this is what Toya is insinuating. Because she's like, you have a lot of behavior too. And it's more than yelling. You notice how she didn't mention it because production has not shown it. But there has been the accusation that Sweet Tea has been very physical with the group, allegedly. And Toya says, it's more than yelling with her. Sweet Tea says that Greg doesn't want to talk about the situation with Quad because Toya is saying maybe you and Quad should sit down for a conversation. But we saw what happened last week. Here's my concern with Sweet Tea and the situation that she's dealing with. I haven't watched the recap that she did with Dr. Contessa. I hope that she isn't going to allow the fact that she wants to have kids and to be a wife and to be married, allow her to get into a situation or stuck in a situation that is not going to be healthy in the long run for herself or for a child. And we said that last week. The way that Dr. Gregory spoke to her and gaslit her was ridiculous. And then try to flip it on her like she's the one. And I said, we have to keep in mind, this is not the first time he's done this. We saw him do this to her last season with the whole security alarm situation. And this is a psychiatrist playing these mind games. And I get it. Everyone's like, oh, but he's human too. Yeah, but you shouldn't be playing these mind games. You shouldn't be you should be at least, for the most part, the voice of reason. And 9 times out of 10, you are not the voice of reason. You're the one being accused of physical and mental abuse. And you're supposed to be the voice of reason. You're supposed to be the person that's trained in how to handle conflict. And it doesn't seem like you're able to do that. If anything, it seems like you are the perpetuator of these abuses. So they have that conversation, and Toya says that Toya's trying to get through to Sweet Tea in regards to, do you want me to fight for this friendship? But I'm not going to fight for someone that doesn't want me to fight for the friendship. I thought that was fair. That she's saying to Sweet Tea, I'm willing to fight for this friendship, but if you don't want me to fight, I'm not going to fight for it. So, and she also Toya asked Sweet Tea, does she want to be within the group? You could already tell from this episode alone, we're seeing less and less of Sweet Tea in these episodes. And I think this group has learned we can alienate anyone that comes on this show just by not filming with them. And for some reason, production has allowed this to continue. And that's what they've been doing with Sweet Tea this season. Like we're seeing less and less of Sweet Tea, especially when it comes to the group. And I think, again, Dr. Gregory purposely tried to interfere with Quad being able to film with the group because of the kink situation. And I don't feel like it helped either one. And it does feel like the group decided to choose Quad because we see what happens later in the episode. All right, so let's get to this very awkward scene. So Dr. Eugene and Dr. Scott, they go over to Dr. Scott's house and they meet up with Dr. Gregory. Okay. And Gregory was wondering why no one had reached out to him. Again, I don't know the span of time of how long it's been since the Key West trip when they all meet up. This is where Dr. Eugene says, I was trying to give you space before reaching out. Dr. Gregory says that that he had filed for a restraining order. And you could see Dr. Eugene was sort of like, did he touch you? Like, how are you filing a restraining order or filing charges if he didn't touch you? And he was like, there's something called simple assault, like the attempt, which a lot of people you see on social media don't realize that, yeah, you can get charges for attempting or being threatening to someone. You don't have to physically harm someone. Okay. And he says that, there is something such as simple battery. Both Dr. Scott and Dr. Eugene are very confused by that because that's not something that they personally would do. Understandable. Again, I don't know if personally I would do that. But with that being said, would I personally want to be in the presence of King again? No. I wouldn't want to film with him. I wouldn't want to, be around him after you threaten me physically. I wouldn't want to be around you. But would I file charges? I don't know. I would have to be in the situation. But Dr. Eugene says, I'm just not one to, to call the police on people or get the man involved. And Dr. Gregory is sort of like, we're of a particular age and we're in a different field. Like, I can't, I understand that. Again, we're not risking our medical degrees off of, or our licenses off of this reality show. Another reason not to be on reality television, some would say. Right? All right. So Dr. Gregory says that, he had to get some of his emotions off. So he plays for them a song that he wrote and performed for Sweet Tea. He plays it. He's got the boom box out and he plays it. I wish I remembered the lyrics. No, I don't. I don't wish I remembered the lyrics. I wish I never had to watch that. He's singing off key. He's talking about how he wants to be free, how he's moved on. It's a song about Quad. And his wife is recording it. He wrote a diss track. This is why I say this man is weird. He wrote a diss track about his ex-wife, had his new wife record it, perform it, and release it on a reality show seen by millions of people. And mind you, I didn't listen to the entire song. You guys are tagging me in the full version, and I say F y'all. Like, why y'all sending me the full version? I don't care. I barely wanted to watch it on the show. So Dr. Gregory performs this song about being set free from Quad. He's married to someone else, blah, blah, blah. He got a nice little beat to it. He's like, And Dr. Scott has the nerve to be over here looking and laughing. Sir, your song was cringy too. your song was cringy too, please. Okay. It sounded better though, Dr. Scott. I will say that. It did sound better than his. His was really bad. Please, I hope they don't have him perform it at the reunion. Sidebar, they said that King and Dr. Gregory's interaction at the reunion gets very heated. And Andy says that he's never seen it get that heated between the husbands ever before. So we shall see. So apparently that situation is far from over. You know what? Y'all thank you for the super chats, y'all. Let me say thank you. V, thank you so much for the super chat. V says, I sent you Doctor's V. See? I sent you Dr. G's video hot off the press as soon as I saw it. You know it, V. Really? Nelly, thank you so much for the super chat. Nelly says, I was not happy about this episode. Toya is creating a narrative as Sweet Tea is all of a sudden aggressive and violent. I don't see that. For me, they are all trying to ice Sweet Tea out. Mean girls. Nelly, I hear what you're saying. However, I will say that Dr. Heavenly has said this multiple times. I'm not saying that she's the end all be all, but she's been saying this in her recaps for the last few weeks that they're not showing it. See how editing will make you view a thing in a situation? We're watching an edited show. For all we know, she could be being very physically aggressive with the other women, and they're not showing it. So when she alludes to Sweet Tea being that way, it does make us kind of go, what are you trying to allude here? Yeah, Lord. All right. Sage, thank you so much for the super chat. Sage says, this was beyond cringe, Kempire. For him to have the nerve to pull out a... now I'm crying. To pull out a laptop and a speakers, and play this foolishness. I get the ick like no other. And V is tagging me because she's like, it's hot off the press. Kempire has got to see this. Kempire has to share the ick with me. Really, V? I thought you liked me. I get it. You guys want me to know what's going on so I can talk about it. You want to hear my reaction. Fine. There it goes. He is a weird... I can't. Miss Esquire says, I demand a full performance at the reunion. Don't give them any ideas. I hope they don't make him perform at the reunion. Oh my, I swear to you, I will fast forward. I am not going to talk about it. I'm going to pretend like it never happened. Blue Skies, thank you so much for the super chat. I think Dr. G is being very vindictive about the situations because he did not physically touch him. Also, I think he's trying to get back at Quad. Also, his song was very cringe. I do believe the latter in regards to this was Dr. G's way of getting back at Quad because he knows Quad wants to film and this would be the way. But at the same time, it's hard because we saw what we saw in regards to King, sprinting for him. But I do believe he was being vindictive. I don't know if I believe that he was truly scared. Maybe he was scared, though. I'd be scared, too. To make a man running after you. Miss Esquire, thank you so much for the super chat. Miss Esquire says, Dr. G's song is going triple plexiglass. Stop. Thank you for the super chat. Chrissy, thank you so much for the super chat. Chrissy says, we should be able to file a class action lawsuit for being subjected to that mess. We are entitled to compensation. Chrissy, you file it. I'm signing it. Okay. I'm just saying. Fortune, thank you for the super chat. Dr. G and Sweet Tea are finally, they are really one of a kind. Aren't they perfect for each other? They are perfect for each other. But at the same time, no. After watching last week's episode and what we've seen, I don't want her to be with him anymore. I don't want her to be with him. Alicia? Thank you for the super chat. Thanks so much for reading my post. You do a great job. Thank you so much. How do I pronounce this name? Vicklin? Thank you so much for the super chat. Vicklin says, Dr. Gregory being a psychiatrist only means he's able to recognize symptoms of mental illness and prescribe meds. For emotional intelligence, a therapist or psychologist is more your person to go to. I don't know if I believe that either. I mean, a psychiatrist should be trained in both. Scarlett, thank you so much for the super chat. Scarlett says the MD to failed music career pipeline is a thing. But why do we have to be subjected to it? Nicole, thank you for the super chat. Nicole says, remember in season 1, the ladies were all saying Quad was aggressive. Heavenly always adds extra sauce. T does not come across aggressive. Again, yes, based off of editing. But what if they were to show you a montage of Sweet Tea and her being aggressive? Then you'd be like, oh shoot, okay, now I feel that. I don't know if that's true or not, but again, we see, and maybe they'll talk about it during the reunion, and maybe they'll show clips of it during the reunion. But we see Toya bring it up. We already heard Heavenly bring it up. It makes me wonder. Let's see. Okay. Guys, if you haven't already, be sure to like the video. It's easy and it's free. Of course, today's live show is brought to you by our friends over at Factor Meals. On a busy Monday like today, I always need to make sure that I have dinner ready to go because after I'm done here, I'm going to meditate and I'm going to eat dinner. Factor makes it so simple, easy, but they also have quality food. I also love their add-ons, especially after last week of the vaccination taking me out and then catching a cold of some sort. Those ginger shots that they have, I love the add-ons as well. If you're ready to optimize your nutrition this year, Factor has chef-made gourmet meals that make eating easy, making eating well easy. There we go. They're dietitian approved and ready to heat and eat in 2 minutes so you can fuel right and feel great no matter what life throws at you. Factor arrives fresh and fully prepared, perfect for any active or busy lifestyle. With 40 options across 8 dietary preferences on the menu each week, it's easy to pick meals tailored to your goals. Choose from preferences like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, or Keto. You can even lose 8 pounds based off of a randomized controlled clinical trial they did. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/factorpodcast and use code factorpodcast to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code factorpodcast at factormeals.com/factorpodcast to get 50% plus free shipping off your first box. More information on Factor will be available in the description. Shout out to Factor for sponsoring today's live recap of Married to Medicine. All right. You know what? Let me drop the call link before we get to the end because I always forget. Let me drop the call link for our members first on the community tab. And shout out to those of you that have been liking the video already. We appreciate it. I will be dropping the call-in link for everyone, but we need to get to a certain amount of likes. Mods, let me know how many likes you think I should get to before we drop the call-in link. I do also want to say happy Women in History Month. Also happy Ramadan or Ramadan Kareem to anyone that celebrates. What else are we celebrating? Rest in peace to Angie Stone. We posted a video yesterday talking a little bit more about Angie Stone and her life and just what she was talking about before she passed away. So rest in peace to Angie Stone. Let me do this here. Okay. And mods, you'll let me know where we should go. Hey, Philly John. I feel like I haven't seen Philly John in a few days. Probably haven't because I haven't been live in a few days. Shout out to everyone watching on TikTok as well. Okay. So, after that horrid mess that was a song that Dr. G did, we move on to Quad hosting the women at her home. I have to say, Quad's home is beautiful. I know her interior designer did a fantastic job. The backyard, big. It reminds me of one of the homes in Jersey when they had Teresa's home in the back. So I thought that was beautiful. She set it up nice. What was Contessa wearing? Dr. Contessa wearing? I thought we were just hanging out in the backyard. Why are we look like we're going to the Beyonce concert? What was she wearing? Dr. Heavenly came in looking, like okay. She's like, I got good coochie. Okay. All right. Didn't need that. Fine. So all the women arrive. Everyone seems to be in good spirits. Of course, Phaedra and Sweetie were not invited. Quad is just happy to be able to be on the show, host an event. She's in a good mood. She's like, come on. All right. So she's like, I only got 2 rules. Everyone has to have a drink entering the house and no one can talk about the past. Dr. Simone in her confession is like, that's rich because Quad always likes to talk about the past, always is stuck in the past. And they show the different examples of that. So Quad says that she may not be present because Toya talks about her anniversary party. She said that she may not be present for it because, and I think they can't say what's happening behind the scenes in regards to the Bravo investigation into the accusations that Dr. Gregory has against King. But she says if King can't go, she probably will not be present. She's like, I would love to be there to celebrate, I love to celebrate Black love. And she's like, I would love to be there to support you. Because Toya and Quad are in a better place than they've been, in a long time. Okay. So So she said she would love to be present, but because of the situation with Dr. Gregory, she's not going to be able to attend. Okay? All right. This is when they show King the next day, because Dr. Simone says she loved what King did the next day. She says that he was very apologetic, and that he said, and they show he feels like things went too far. So the fact that we see that King is saying that things went too far, that says to me he's admitting his own issue and what he did, what was wrong. I think this is where I think Dr. Mimi and even Dr. Contessa saying that, Sweet Tea and Dr. G should be able to come to a place of accountability. They're not showing any sort of accountability as well. Okay. I'm not going to get into the argument of who did what. Again, we're watching an edited show. Okay. Moving on from there. So they showed that clip of King talking about that. Toya talked about their meeting with Sweet Tea and how Sweet Tea, again, they felt like she wasn't showing any sort of accountability in their involvement in the situation. Okay. Contessa says that she's always team Sweet Tea and Dr. Gregory. Did that catch you guys off guard? Because I was surprised she said that, because I never saw them as being close until I watched part of the interview that Sweet Tea and Dr. Contessa did. And apparently Dr. Gregory and Scott have always been close. I mean, there's a lot of things I could say about that, but we'll leave it alone. You can read my eyes. Okay. Interesting that they're close. Okay. So they talk about, she says that she's always going to be team them, which I found to be surprising. But she says that she also feels like they're making a bigger deal out of the situation than it needs to be. I'm paraphrasing. Okay. Toya then says that she's never going to let anyone tell me who she can and cannot invite to her party. Okay. And she says that Sweet Tea and Greg have no self-control, which I thought to be interesting, because she's saying, if I'm inviting you to this event and you're telling me you can't be there because you're concerned of what's going to happen, she says it feels like you don't feel like you can control your reaction. I was like, wait a minute. Just because you know that you don't have to react to something, if someone was running up on you, lunging for you, that means you can't control what they're going to do. So I don't necessarily agree with that 100%, because me personally, if I had an issue with someone like that, I probably wouldn't want to go to that, especially if they were trying to run up on me and fight me. Because how do I know that you're not going to try and do that again? So I don't necessarily agree with Toya when it comes to that. It's not necessarily about control. It's about, I don't want to be around, first of all, I don't want to be around my ex, but I also don't want to be around someone that almost physically attacked me and that I just filed a restraining order. How do I know they're not mad I filed a restraining order or charges and they're not going to, like, how do I know that he ain't got nothing to lose and he's not going to come get me at this event? You know what I mean? That part, Ashley says, because two seasons ago, Toya mushed Anila at someone's home. Was it Anila or the Audra? She mushed Audra. So that's the thing. Like, it's the hypocrisy of this group. And I think because Quad is back into the fold, this is why Toya's is like, I choose Quad over them. And then Quad gets really emotional. And then Contessa's like, you hear that, Quad? Yeah, I need a moment. Look, I need a moment. Because they've been through a lot of stuff. And now Quad is back into the Mean Girl group. So they choose her, so she feels chosen. She's just like, I need a moment. She chose me. Welcome back to the Mean Girl group. Okay. Hold on. Poetically correct says hypocrisy or growth. No, hypocrisy. No, hypocrisy. That was only 2 seasons ago. That's not growth. Please understand. That is not growth. The same Toya that did that would show up yet again. Please understand. Queen just said, I was believing your tears too, Kempire. Lexi says, replace T with Audra. They should have never gotten rid of Audra if quiet as it's kept. They should have never gotten rid of her. But it's all right. Punchy says, you hit that note, Kempire. Thank you. Musically trained. All right. So Quad feels great. She's been accepted by the group. Fine. So that's how they end it. And then we have this final scene. Of course, we're going to have this final scene because production wants to close out this chapter of Phaedra. So Dr. Jackie goes over Phaedra's home, okay, to have a conversation about what went down during the QS trip. Phaedra, I just can't. Phaedra lies as a sport, okay? She lies as a sport. So she's like, well, it really had nothing to do with you, Jackie. After blaming Jackie during the trip. You know who I was really mad at? I was really mad at you. Dr. Jackie was like, what did I do? She's like, I expected more from you. Now, how many days later, she's like, well, it really had nothing to do with you. Okay. Jackie says that she was under the impression that Phaedra knew that Apollo was coming. Phaedra says that Heavenly is the devil's daughter. She says that Heavenly is, look, she didn't tell any lies. She said Heavenly is messy. She wanted to cause drama. Again, what was the point in inviting Apollo? I get it. Heavenly, you told her you were concerned that production wasn't going to show it. They showed it. But what was the point in inviting Apollo? Okay. Well, Phaedra says that Heavenly is the devil's daughter. Takes one to know one. Maybe? Okay. I see them. They're one and the same for me. I think Heavenly is just probably a little bit more crass about it, a little bit more open about it. If anything, we should probably be more concerned with someone that moves the way that Phaedra moves. From the sidelines, from the alleyways and the corners and the dark spaces. Lord. Oh God. Do I choose villain today, or do I just let people? The makeup lady creation says the bias against Phaedra is unreal. I'm going to choose to let you live today. Not even worth it at this point. It's not even worth it at this point. Because that comment shows me your bias. Okay. Anyway, so Phaedra knew that Apollo was coming. Phaedra says that Heavenly is the devil's daughter. Okay. Jackie says that she invites Phaedra to Toya's event. Okay. She invites Phaedra to Toya's event, but Phaedra says that she doesn't trust these group of women. She's no longer interested. We have to remember the timeline of things. This timeline of her leaving Married to Medicine, they were already in negotiations with Phaedra returning. The whole situation with Kenya had already happened. They were in negotiations of her coming on Real Housewives of Atlanta. Please understand, Phaedra was not leaving Married to Medicine without securing her position on Atlanta. She would have gone to this event. She would be having these conversations. I think she would literally got the call while she was in Key West. And she's like, I'm done with these B words. I'm done with them. Okay. So when invited by Dr. Jackie to Toya's event, she's like, yeah, I'm done with y'all. I'm done with this group. Yeah, because she got the new job. Come on, they got the new job. So Jackie says that Phaedra knew more info than they did in regards to the whole Apollo situation. She says Phaedra knew about Apollo coming. She knew that Check was coming, and she knew that Check knew Apollo. She thinks that Phaedra plan backfired on her. Maybe it did. Again, I think it more so had to do with Phaedra securing her spot on Real Housewives of Atlanta. She didn't care. I think if Phaedra, even if her plan backfired on her, Phaedra didn't care. She's like, Atlanta's calling. Ooh, yes, back. She's like, I don't care about these B words. I'm out of here. I'm out of here. So she didn't care. Phaedra did not care. She would find any excuse in her book and be like, I didn't like the way y'all looked at me. Bye. And then she's going to go over to Real Housewives of Atlanta and bring no personal storyline. She might come bring in the shade and getting involved with the girls. Fine. But she's not going to bring any personal storyline. What? She's going to bring Check over there? Girl, we're not interested. We know that was a paid actor. But okay. Phaedra claims that she put more into this group than any of them. Like she lies for a sport. She put more into this group, and then they showed what she put in. We could have did without the Reiki. We could have did without Check. We could have did without the cartoon doctor boyfriend that we never met. We could have did without that. I said bringing Phaedra over here on this show only helped ruin the show. And look, the show has been in shambles this last couple of seasons. They do definitely need to do a shakeup next season. But Phaedra did not help. She didn't bring any personal story. She did not add anything to this group. We were good on Phaedra. I'm glad Phaedra's gone, but I don't think she's going to bring much of anything to Real Housewives of Atlanta either. But she has been clawing at that Real Housewives of Atlanta door since they let her go before. She's been waiting. But we shall see. We shall see what she brings. All you Phaedra stans. Then when she brings nothing, very much like we told you she wouldn't bring From Married to Medicine, you'll be like, Phaedra really bring much this season. Those ratings for Married to Medicine did not increase tremendously from what it was before. Definitely not this season either. Queen T, thank you so much for the super chat. Queen T says, can someone say nuts, womanizer, angry little man? Who are we talking about? Ooh. Aisha, thank you so much for the super chat. We appreciate your support. V, thank you so much for the super chat. We appreciate your support. V says, I think Sweet Tea is on guard all the time because she lives with an abuser. He may have brought the aggression out of T. Oh. Asia, thank you so much for the super chat. Asia says, Kempire, I don't believe one word that comes from Heavenly. You cite, wait. What? You cite her low. She's not credible. Okay. Okay. You don't need her. I hate I'm giving you the perspective of what some people have said. And I've always say, along with saying it, I don't know if it's true, but this is what's been said. And then we see Toya say something similar in this week's episode. I know we're getting one side. I always say that when we talk about it. I'm not saying what she said is 100% the truth, but one person saying something, I'm like, Tish, thank you so much for the super chat. Tish says, someone said that Sweet Tea admitted on a live that she hits Dr. G upside his head. That person should call in and share more. No, they shouldn't. Here's the thing. Unless I saw it for myself, I don't need people making allegations from a third party. If I saw it myself, then I would tell you guys. So please don't call in. Look, I saw it on her channel.
Here on the Kempire
Unless you can
podcast,
cite your source, I don't want to hear it or see it.
5-star rating on Apple Podcasts.
Ms. Esquire, thank you so much for the super chat. This is the official petition to ask Kempire to add the Freedom Song to songs. Please like here. We deserve to be free. Ms. Esquire, I see you backstage. I'm going to block you in 2 seconds. I'm going to block you in 2 seconds. Key Talks, thank you so much for the super chat. Key Talks says, I feel like Sweet Tea should leave only because she's too young for this group. I don't know not one 35-year-old that hangs with AARP recipients. That's not true. That is not true. I think she's not fitting in with the group for 2 reasons. They're not allowing her to fit in. And also she just doesn't fit well for reality television. Amy, thank you so much for the super chat. Amy says, I kind of want to know how Dr. G and Quad last as long between Quad's Bugetto Shakespearean monologue and Dr. G's songwriting and singing. The fight for the spotlight was real. The Diva, thank you so much for the super chat. The Diva says, this episode was poignant. 1, men verified Dr. Hyde is bona fide B. 2, T went mute when Dr. Mimi's co-signed that T is aggressive. Yes, I forgot about that. T is aggressive, verified Dr. Heavenly's claims. Thank you, Diva. And 3, the ladies chose Quad, Miss Quad. I forgot that Dr. Mimi verified that. Sidebar. Steven, Dr. Mimi's husband, when he found out that Dr. Gregory had filed a restraining order or charges, we don't know. He said, Street 101, that's not what we do. He's not from the street. Steven, a lot of us that have watched this show, specifically watched Married to Medicine, are not from the street. Just saying. Fortune, thank you so much for the super chat. Fortune says, Dr. G and Dr. Scott, close. Birds of a feather flock together. Keith, thank you so much for another super chat. Keith says, since the majority of this cast has been present since the first 2 seasons, I feel it's hard for any newcomer to be welcomed into this group. This is why you got to shake some things up. Marquel, thank you so much for the super chat. Marquel says, Audra was chest bumping Toya. Oh, and when Toya mushed her? All right, Marquel, are you trying to say you don't want to see Audra come back? Is that what you're trying to say? Thanks for tuning in to Kempire here on the Kempire Radio podcast. As always, don't forget to give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. And for everything Kempire Radio, head on over to KempireRadio.com.